I call on Daniel Johnson, up to 6 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. There is no doubt the importance of the tourism industry to Scotland. It is both important in and of itself as a generator of revenue, but it also acts as a calling card for a huge range of different activities we do. People know Scotland, they know what this country has, both in terms of its culture and its geography, and that's incredibly important. So therefore, I think what is at issue here is devising a scheme that is additive to that, that enhances that enables investment in those things, because tourism is important. Moreover, I think it actually creates an opportunity, if done right, to create an alignment of interest. Because, as my colleague Paul Sweeney rightly pointed out, right now we actually don't have a system whereby local authorities see the benefit financially from being a successful tourist destination. So I think if we can create that virtuous link between that activity and the Council's ability to both see the upside and invest, then we will create a good policy. However, as Miles Briggs stated, the devil is undoubtedly in the detail. We need this to be both straightforward to implement, providing clarity for both visitors, for operators so that they know what to do, and critically it needs to be deliverable for local authorities. It would be very easy to create a scheme which was cumbersome, complicated and actually got in the way of doing the very thing that we're seeking to promote. So let me run through a number of the key points. And I think Sarah Boyack set out very well why there is a case to this, where you can create an additive and supplementary form of income to invest in the very infrastructure that you need to be a successful tourist city. You only have to look around Edinburgh. And I think Ben McPherson also pointed out, locations such as Victoria Street, highly important to this city, but desperately in need of investment. I think what's important that it is additive, that it's not simply backfilling lost resource from other areas. So therefore, getting that mechanism right, that ensures that it is both additive, but it is also directed by industry and by local community, so that it actually enhances the visitor offer, is really highly important. Now, I think what we need to be clear here is I think some sort of cumbersome definition would be entirely wrong, because almost certainly we would get that incorrect. I think what we have to do, as Ben McPherson was highlighting, is making sure that the reporting requirements, the consultation requirements, are done in such a way that we create that virtuous cycle. And so I think that's a very important point. I think there's been... I think we also need to take a great deal more consideration about the impact on small business. I think there's been a little bit of assumption across the chamber that somehow this is something that is easy for businesses to implement. It's a button that you can put on the till. Now, can I just say, as a former retailer, it's not always that straightforward, even when you think that a policy is beneficial, even when you think it will benefit you. And I'd point to both the bag levy, the bag charge rather, and also the change in VAT that happened in 2008. That was a change which absolutely was very welcome in very challenging circumstances. But it required me to stay in my shop overnight trying to get my systems updated on the 1st of December in the middle of our busiest trading period. And while that was very welcome, it came at almost the worst possible point in my trading year. So do not think just because something is beneficial is that consequence or cost. And I think we have to bear in mind that particularly we are dealing with a cohort of businesses, some of whom are very small. These are not businesses that necessarily have complicated IT systems, that they have a system where they can change a parameter and start accepting additional levy. They may well be businesses running from a notebook and a petty cash tin. So let us make sure that this is straightforward for them to implement. I think we should consider whether or not there should be exemption for small businesses, because some of these businesses simply will not be worth their while continuing in business if they have to have this additional burden, because they will not be charging VAT. It will not be simply like having an extra rate of VAT. And let me just on that note point out, we need to take care with a percentage levy, because it is in effect an additional rate of VAT we're charging. That is how it will operate. And that is not without complexity. VAT is not a straightforward levy to collect nor verify. So if that is the route we're going down, I think we need to make sure that it is straightforward for councils to implement. I would wonder whether 18 months is sufficient time in order to create a system and a resource to both levy and collect and verify an additional rate of VAT. And I would just say that very gently. So I think we should heed calls from the sector when they ask for a simplified framework. So absolutely putting councils in control of the rates that they levy, but wondering whether if there's a simplified framework which would at least provide some consistency for implementation and indeed for visitors as they are looking at touring Scotland, so that they understand the prices that they're facing, rather than potentially facing 32 different ways of their accommodation being priced. And I note the time, Presiding Officer, but I will just say this, is that this has the capacity to create more funds to enhance our visitor attractions, but there are potential consequences. We have to look at the detail. We have to get this right, so we strengthen the tourist industry, not undermine it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And